Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a cozy little village, there lived a sweet girl named Cinderella. She had big, bright eyes, a warm smile, and a heart full of love. Cinderella lived in a house with her stepmother and 2 stepsisters. They weren't very kind to her. While they wore fancy dresses and played all day, Cinderella had to sweep the floors, wash the dishes, and feed the animals. Even though her chores were hard, Cinderella stayed cheerful. She sang songs to the birds and talked to the mice who lived in the house. They were her best friends, and they loved her very much. One sunny morning, a royal messenger came to town with exciting news. The king and queen were having a big ball at the palace. Their son, the prince, was looking for someone special to be his friend, and maybe even his princess. Everyone was invited. Cinderella's stepsisters were thrilled. They danced around, dreaming of meeting the prince. They got new dresses and sparkly shoes. But when Cinderella asked if she could go too, her stepmother said, "No, Cinderella, you have too much work to do." Cinderella felt sad. She watched her stepsisters leave for the ball in a fancy carriage. She sat by the fireplace and wiped away a tear. Suddenly, a gentle light filled the room. A kind lady with twinkling eyes appeared. "Don't cry, dear," she said. "I'm your fairy godmother, and you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand, she turned a pumpkin into a golden carriage. She changed Cinderella's old dress into a beautiful gown with glass slippers that sparkled like stars. "But remember," said the fairy godmother, "you must leave the ball before the clock strikes midnight, or the magic will disappear." Cinderella smiled and thanked her off. She went to the palace feeling like a princess. At the palace, everyone turned to look at Cinderella. She was so graceful and kind. The prince saw her and smiled. "Would you like to dance?" he asked. They danced and laughed all night. Cinderella felt like she was in a dream. But then, ding dong, the clock began to strike midnight. "Oh no!" cried Cinderella. She ran out of the palace, down the steps and into the night. One of her glass slippers slipped off, but she didn't have time to go back. She jumped into her carriage just as the magic faded away. The next day, the prince wanted to find the girl who had danced with him. He had her glass slipper and said, "I will visit every house until I find the one whose foot fits this shoe." He went from house to house. The stepsters tried the slipper, but it didn't fit. Then he saw Cinderella. She smiled shyly and tried on the slipper. It fit perfectly. The prince was so happy. "You're the one," he said. "Will you come back to the palace with me?" Cinderella nodded, and her fairy godmother appeared once more. With a wave of her wand, Cinderella's dress sparkled again, and she rode off to the palace with the prince. Cinderella and the prince became best friends. They laughed, played, and helped others in the kingdom. Cinderella invited her animal friends to live at the palace, and she never had to do chores alone again. And so, Cinderella lived happily ever after. with kindness, love, and a little bit of magic.